Hi, good people. First, I want to thank all my subscribers and those taking time to like my videos. From the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for taking time to support me. Whoa, the gift that keeps giving. Watch one among so many trading videos about P. Diddy.
This is LA's fire chief, Christine Crowley. And around 3 weeks ago, she wrote a detailed report to the city's mayor, Karen Bass, saying that her fire department was facing, and I quote, unprecedented operational challenges due to the millions of dollars in budget cuts Karen had approved 6 months earlier. Fast forward to today, and the fire department is being overwhelmed, and LA is being scorched by what's become the most destructive natural disaster ever experienced in LA. After, and this is important, just 2 days. That's it. More than 10 people have lost their lives, almost 200,000 have been told to leave their homes and evacuate. And the damages, and remember, on 2 days, on just 2 days, are thought to be in the realm of around $50 billion. And this is all while there's been complaints from firefighters that hydrants have run out of water or are broken, delays in response times, dry bush not being cleared appropriately, and shockingly, all of those issues and more were specifically outlined in this report only a few weeks ago. And they were predicted to be a problem. Oh, and that is just the beginning. So let's jump into this report, which was filed last month, because it is genuinely shocking once you have hindsight. It is 22 pages long, and they even did a little simplified presentation at the end with visuals, in case brain rot had spread all the way to the government offices. Nice, fun touch, I think. So the total budget cut from the Los Angeles Fire Department was around 17 million. But specifically, the problem that was highlighted in this report was the 7 million in reductions in overtime staffing hours, which they refer to in this report as V hours. And listen to this quote directly, right in the summary. The reduction in V hours has severely, yes, they used that word, severely limited the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires. I mean, they literally said it themselves. This is their words. But let me continue, because this just gets worse. They said that staffing restrictions in their Fire Prevention Bureau is causing the inability to complete required bush clearance inspections, which are crucial for mitigating fire risks in high-hazard areas. And I mean, that is one of the key points that a lot of people have brought up about this fire. Because yes, this fire spread so fast because it was exacerbated by really high winds, but also overgrown dry bush that hasn't been cleared properly is what really spreads the fire so quickly. And also, if it isn't cleared around structures, then it goes straight from the bush to the structures. And you've seen the before and afters. Entire neighborhoods wiped out. For their Emergency Medical Services Bureau, they said, without V hours, the LAFD cannot deploy qualified personnel to these resources, which impacts emergency response and public safety. Oh, and they keep on going, because for their disaster response section, they said, the cut will also affect the teams making fire control lines around wildfire lands, manage wildland fire road maintenance, and post-fire demolition. Their specialized operation units, they said that the cuts would impact their ambulance and water-dropping helicopter operations, limiting the department's ability to respond effectively to emergencies and ensure public safety for large-scale public events. For their firefighter training and emergency preparedness and response, they said that these cuts would hinder firefighter training and safety planning, and that the fire department's response to large-scale emergencies, like wildfires, they specifically say that, is significantly, there's that word again, diminished, increasing the risk of both public and firefighter safety. Now, obviously, these, even though it felt like a lot to me, reading this out, these are just bullet points. This is 22 pages of specifically saying all the things that are happening now, specifically warning of all of the things that are happening now. So the question becomes, was this all true? Because either way you look at it, it's pretty bad. On the one hand, if she was telling the truth last month in this report, then those cuts from the mayor significantly impacted the firefighters' ability to respond and control these fires. And if that was actually the case, then California's public will be pissed because they are paying some of the highest taxes in the entire country. And they are paying that specifically so you can have well-funded public sectors for emergencies like this. But then you have the other scenario. On the other hand, if she was overstating, how much these budget cuts would impact it, and she was just trying to get back the funding that they lost. And when she was asked exactly this, whether she was telling the truth or not, in an interview yesterday, she said this.
Would that $17 million that had been cut from your budget have made a difference in this fight?
I would say with the lean forward posture that we took, knowing that a $17 million cut we had to take from somewhere, and that was from the non-essential duties and responsibilities. We pre-deployed the most amount of emergency resources that we could with what we had. We did exactly what we could with what we had.
So you're saying you didn't have enough resources?
I would say we threw exactly what we could with what we had.
Oh, and it only gets crazier because when you see this graph that shows the departments which had the biggest operation cuts and increases in 2024 and 2025, you'll see right down there, the second biggest cut, only above street services, is fire. And that is wild when you see that is now costing $50 billion. Not saying that it could be completely prevented, but $50 billion. The biggest three increases were police, library, and housing. Now, in addition to these cuts, there's been a lot of criticism from Californians and locals talking about the fact that the fire department's budget is only 65% of the amount set aside for homelessness, which they have a budget of around $1.3 billion. And just to make that budget worse, an analysis from LA's city comptroller found that last year, roughly half the budget for homelessness went unspent. And I mean, to be fair, it's not like a disaster like this, especially in LA and around California, couldn't be predicted. One of the craziest clips that I saw about it was of Joe Rogan when he spoke about it sometime last year, and he spoke to a firefighter. Alex, play them the clip.
I talked to this guy who was a fire guy for the fire department. He said, it's just going to be a matter of time. There's going to be one day where a fire hits LA and the wind is the right way and we're not going to be able to stop it. It's just going to burn right through to the ocean. He goes, it's just a matter of time. We all know it. I was like, what the dude? I go, the whole city? He goes, the whole city.
So, now you've got this huge crisis and so many people have been affected. All of this is kind of channeling into huge anger towards those who are in control. When the fires first broke out, the mayor of LA came back from a trip in Ghana to this waiting for her at the airport.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
But also today, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, was confronted by a woman in the streets asking why there was no water in the hydrants.
That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now.
I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through.
Why was there no water in the hydrants,
That's
Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally, you know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
Now, the latest from the fires in LA is that California's National Guard has had to be deployed not only to help support LA, but also, and this is just, this one's unbelievable, but also to deter the people that are using this fire as an opportunity to loot people's houses that have been evacuated. I mean, just imagine that. You would lose all your faith in humanity. You're forced to evacuate your home, and maybe you come back, and it's a miracle, and your house is still intact. You go inside, and it's just being looted. Everything robbed. That is crazy. There's also been a suspect arrested by citizens, may I add, for arson, and he is suspected to have started the Kenneth fire, which has burnt roughly 1,000 acres so far. Oh, and also, don't even get me started on this insurance crisis that is looming after the fires, and it's going to be one like California has never seen before. And if you want to...
Scammers and looters have been taking advantage of the wildfires in Los Angeles, according to police, with one man dressing as a firefighter to try to burgle a home. 16 people have died in the fires and 16 are missing. More strong winds are forecast, but firefighters say they are making progress. One of the 4 fires burning through Los Angeles, the Kenneth fire, is now 100% contained, meaning they've stopped it spreading. Firefighters are trying to prevent the sort of devastation seen in the Palisades village. This video shows the before and after in the upscale shopping area. On the left is what it looked like in March last year, and on the right is how it looks now. Well, let's join Emma Vardy, who's in Los Angeles for us. Emma.
Well, among all that devastation here, as well as people's homes, are a number of schools and churches also now lying in rubble. And today, on a Sunday, congregations have been finding new places to come together. Meanwhile, of course, that monumental firefighting effort is now being helped by new crews coming in from Mexico and from Canada, as LA tries to sustain its resistance against the flames as this crisis continues. The race to stay ahead of the deadly fires enters a 6th day. Helicopters fly just above the smoke. Below, the flames rage. But just as progress is made, other areas ignite. In the fire's wake, residents continue to journey back to where their houses once stood. For one, the reality is overwhelming.
Oh my God.
There have been repeated warnings for people to stick to nighttime curfews, police urging the need for order.
I saw a gentleman that looked like a firefighter, and I asked him if he was okay because he was sitting down. I didn't realize we had him in handcuffs. We were turning him over to LAPD because he was dressed like a fireman, and he was not. He just got caught burglarizing a home.
That was my house. This is the main house.
With tens of thousands of people staying in emergency hotels and shelters, they're safe for now, but have no idea where they will go next. Serenity's family of 11 fled minutes before their home burned.
People like me without insurance, we don't know what we're going to do. We're at shelters like this. We are going all around town. Some of us have lost our cars. Some of us have lost our sense of being.
The city faces a massive task to provide housing for the areas that are lost. At a church in Pasadena, Sunday's congregation summoning the strength to face the day. The community is pulling together to weather this disaster, but there are fears over how some are being affected.
You know, people can take the land and they can buy the land. So we want to make sure they remain the landowners and they continue to retain their property.
My concern is mainly for the underserved and the at-risk, which are the elderly and then also the children.
The scale of the destruction in neighborhoods is vast. Whole schools gone.
As you know, our beloved South Campus has been severely damaged by the recent fires, and many of our families and staff have experienced great personal loss.
Crews have slowed the spread of the Eaton fire, but strong winds drive it back into life.
Well, you can see here that it's burning on both sides of us, up the hill and down into the valley too. There's helicopters flying just above us, just dropping water now, trying to keep those flames at bay. And there's a renewed sense of urgency because down here is a large NASA facility that the flames have been moving towards.
16 people have now died in these fires. They are already among the deadliest in California's history. And officials say the death toll will rise. Emma Vardy, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, despite the major ongoing challenges, firefighters have told the BBC that they are cautiously optimistic that they're beginning to gain the upper hand. The crucial difference, they say, has been the ability to bring in aircraft as the wind speeds dropped. Over the past week, our correspondent John Sudworth has spent days and nights watching the work of the fire crews up close, and he sent this report.
In this unprecedented disaster, fire crews have faced an unprecedented fight. An overwhelming wildfire ripping through one of America's most densely populated cities, fueled by hurricane-force winds.
Let us know if we're in your way too, okay?
One guy down there working. So.
All right. Cool, thanks guys.
But Battalion Chief Brent Basqua now believes their fortunes are shifting for one main reason.
We're cautiously optimistic because it's not going to be 70-mile-an-hour winds. The rug got swept out under us from the winds downing our aircraft. We can't use them. It's too unsafe for the pilots, and the retardant doesn't even make it to the ground when it's over 50 miles an hour. So we had to ground our aircraft. The helicopters did what they could, but it still just shows you how important it is to have that coordinated effect with the firefighters on the ground and the ones in the sky.
Now, as those wind speeds have dropped, the aircraft have been able to get off the ground, bombarding the fire with water and fire retardant. For the past 2 days, they've been flying sortie after sortie, right around the clock. In coordination with the ground teams, the hills around this city have been turned into a smouldering moonscape as they begin to get on top of the fight. On Wednesday night, we saw for ourselves how firefighters without the air support were left helpless. Facing water shortages as pressure dropped, this crew was forced to watch these homes burn while trying desperately to save the other side of the street. 2 days on and the fires here have finally burned themselves out. As expected, every single property here now a gutted shell. This is where the fire truck was that night, and the extraordinary thing is, against the odds, they won the battle they were fighting. Their careful use of the small amounts of water they had, saving every property on this side of the street. Many thousands were not so lucky, left facing a crisis on unimaginable scale. But in the fight against the fire, at least, they're now daring to hope the worst may be over. This is still no time for complacency. Everybody is certain of that. There are still some 4,000 firefighters on this one fire alone, the fire they are calling the Palisades fire. There are more than 100,000 people across this city of Los Angeles under evacuation orders, and everybody is keeping a careful eye on those forecasts for strengthening winds later into the week. But here is the crucial difference, Rita. Those forecasts from late Monday through to Wednesday suggest we will see wind speeds with gusts of around 50 to 55 miles an hour. That is a long way short of the 100-mile-an-hour gusts we were getting on Monday and Tuesday. It's within the normal range of the Santa Ana winds. The kind of things these crews here say they are well used to dealing with, and it should also mean, absolutely crucially, they can keep those aircraft that you can hear going overhead up in the skies, getting above the fire. So, growing confidence, not complacency, but growing confidence that they are still retaining the upper hand.
I hope you watched the video from beginning to the end. It's important. Please remember to subscribe, share, and like. Thank you.